The TQ HPR50 motor arrived to considerable fanfare when it first appeared on the Trek Fuel EXe back in 2022. As the lightest motor in its category, the HPR50 drive unit blew everyone away with its compact size and its whisper-quiet performance. It was initially an exclusive for Trek, but the HPR50 motor is now found on a variety of lightweight e-bikes, including the Scott Lumen and the Voltage. The competition in this space is evolving at a rapid rate, however, so nearly 2 years on, how does the HPR50 motor stack up against the rest? The TQ HPR50 is one of the few motors that's been purpose-built for the lightweight e-bike category. We're talking bikes like the Specialized Levo SL, the Fazua Ride, and the Focus Jam Squared SL. Unlike its competitors, this German-manufactured motor employs TQ's unique harmonic pin ring system with a single intermeshing gear that drastically reduces the number of moving parts. Most e-bike motors spin very fast, and that requires a step-down gearbox. The HPR50 does not, however, and that makes it significantly smaller and a whole lot simpler. Now, in terms of numbers, the HPR50 motor pumps out up to 50 Newton meters of torque and 300 watts of peak power. It manages to do this while weighing just 1.85 kilos, making this the lightest e-bike motor we have ever tested. It's also the most compact, with a neat form factor that allows for sleeker frame designs. More importantly though, it provides suspension designers with greater freedom when it comes to kinematics. There's less restriction on pivot point locations, and it's also possible to achieve shorter chainstays and greater tire clearance. TQ has designed the HPR50 motor around its own 360 watt-hour battery. In the case of the Fuel EXe, the battery can be easily removed for charging separately. On the Lumen and Voltage, however, the battery is bolted in place, making it a bit trickier to remove. Regardless, each bike features an external port for recharging the battery. Maintaining the minimalist theme, there's a small controller next to the left-hand grip which allows you to cycle between the assist modes, that being high, mid and eco. There's also a low-profile display which sits flush within the frame's top tube. The 2-inch screen looks super neat, and it provides key information including current speed, average speed, cadence, battery status, rider power input and motor power output. You can customize which metrics are displayed using the TQ smartphone app. You can also use the app to tune the motor's peak power output, the support characteristic and acceleration level for each of the 3 assist modes. Now, aside from its low weight and compact size, it's the quiet performance of the HPR50 motor that really sets it apart from the competition. During normal riding circumstances, the sound of your tyres rolling across the dirt is typically more audible than the motor itself. This is quite the contrast to other e-bike motors which emit a much louder and more noticeable whine. Sure, you get used to it, but you don't realise how annoying it is until you ride something that's as muted as this. Furthermore, the HPR50 drive unit doesn't exhibit any clacking noise on the descents. This differs to some Bosch and Shimano drive units, which can feel and sound quite clunky when you're freewheeling down a bumpy trail. In comparison, the HPR50 is a lot quieter both up and down the mountain, lending to its stealthy character. Support from the motor itself is similarly stealthy. There's nothing jerky or uncontrolled about the way that it delivers its power, and that makes it smooth and intuitive to ride on tight and technical single track. You never get pushed wide through a corner, with the motor responding quickly whenever you stop pedaling. That smoothness is particularly evident around the motor's cutoff point. The power tapers off gently in a way that makes it almost imperceptible when the motor has gone above its maximum speed limit. This attribute was most obvious on the Lumen, which comes fitted with lightweight and fast-rolling tyres. This offers faster initial acceleration and less deceleration whenever the motor cuts out, and along with its quiet power delivery, it makes it easy to forget that you're actually on an e-bike. Now, it's worth noting that the HPR50's support characteristic has been improved since it first launched. TQ has implemented numerous firmware updates which riders can have carried out at their local bike shop. The latest versions see the motor better able to handle rapid changes in cadence, which is something we complained about with the first iteration. As a result, power delivery is smoother again, and it's more intuitive on technical climbs. TQ also explained to us that the HPR50 motor actually adapts its power output based on the rider. Utilizing its inbuilt torque sensors, the motor can measure the vertical force that you exert on the spindle when standing on the pedals. This means it knows your physical weight, and by measuring your power output, apparently it can even tell whether you're on flat pedals or clips. The system uses all of this information to then determine your individual comfort zone. Of course, this varies from rider to rider, and so the motor changes its support characteristics traffic accordingly. In this sense, the HPR50 system essentially learns your riding style, which is pretty wild. Now, although the stealthy performance of the HPR50 motor will make it the holy grail of the lightweight e-bike category for certain riders, for others, the power delivery may be too subtle. Indeed, if you're looking for drag car acceleration when taking off from a standstill, this motor isn't for you. In more demanding circumstances, like when you're heading up a steep climb in a taller gear, there is less support from the motor compared to more powerful options on the market. Now, we'll say that this won't be a huge concern for the sportier and fitter riders that are typically attracted to a lightweight e-bike in the first place. And it's worth noting that the overall power output of the HPR50 motor is pretty comparable to the SL 1.2 motor found in the latest Levo SL. In terms of lightweight e-bikes, the Fazua Ride 60 motor does deliver significantly more power. Of course, it's a bulkier and heavier system overall, but it does allow you to climb faster with less effort, and it's also more responsive in terms of initial acceleration. In comparison, there can be some lag to the power pickup with the HPR50. Despite the latest firmware improvements, I've still found there are moments where you'll turn a couple of pedal strokes before the motor starts delivering support. Using the app to dial up the acceleration level certainly helps, but it doesn't completely remove that lag. You soon get used to it though, and it does mean that the motor never surprises you with any off-putting surges in power. There's no fear of the hypersensitivity that you get from the Yamaha motor on the giant Trans-X E+ Elite, which suffers from an awkward pulsing sensation whenever you're resting your feet on the pedals. Now, while not an issue for any of our test riders here at Flow, there are reports of heavier riders suffering from reduced power output on sustained climbs. Now, this is likely due to the inbuilt heat management system, which is designed to prevent the battery or the motor from getting too hot. If the surface temperatures start getting close to the maximum limit of 70 degrees Celsius, the motor will automatically start dropping its power output in 5-watt increments. The system checks in with your riding speed with the assumption that if you're moving faster, there will be more air circulating around the motor to help cool it down. On a slow climb in hot conditions, however, the motor will continue to drop its power output until the temperatures reach an acceptable level. Now, fundamentally, this is a good feature from the perspective that the system will prevent any permanent damage to the motor or battery. However, it may be annoying for heavier riders who are using this motor in hotter environments like Australia. And this reinforces our recommendation that heavier riders will generally be better off looking at a full-powered e-bike in the first place. Part of that recommendation is also related to the small 360 watt-hour battery. Now, how much range you're able to extract from it depends on a variety of factors, with the most significant being rider weight and elevation gain. Tyre spec can make a surprisingly big difference, and which assist mode you choose will also change how much power the motor draws from the battery. As such, a heavier rider going up an awkward tech climb in the high assist mode is going to drain it a lot faster compared to a lighter rider pedaling smoothly up a gradual fire road in the eco mode. Because of all those factors, pinpointing an exact range estimation is pretty much impossible and somewhat futile, given it won't necessarily translate between different riders. However, I can at least provide a point of comparison between the 3 TQ equipped bikes I've ridden and all the other lightweight e-bikes we've reviewed. I've conducted numerous range tests on each bike, including our standardized climbing test. I've put all of the results into the full review over at flowmountainbike.com, so if you're keen to check them out, just click the link in the video description below. Speaking of range, TQ does offer an optional 160 watt-hour range extender. This battery sells for 900 Australian dollars on its own, but both Trek and Scott require you to purchase the cable and mounting hardware separately, which will set you back an additional $100. For the range extender, cable and mounting hardware, you're looking at around 1.1 kilos of extra weight. Once plugged in, the display on the top tube will read the total battery capacity as 150%. The system is then designed to run the range extender flap first before moving on to the main battery. With the range extender fitted, I recently managed to ride both up and down Lake Mountain during a 50-kilometer ride with some 1,500 meters of elevation gain, and most of that was done in the high assist mode. Now, that's an impressive amount for a lightweight e-bike, and I would have gotten a lot more if I'd ridden exclusively in the eco mode. Indeed, with the extra capacity, you've got the ability to take on proper all-day epics. Alternatively, the range extender allows you to ride in the high assist mode for longer, and that can be useful when heading out for an after-work blast with your mates who are on full-powered e-bikes. You'll still be working harder on the climbs, but you'll be able to get to the pub afterwards with less fear of a flat battery. Having now tested 3 bikes with the TQ HPR50 motor over the past 18 months, we continue to be impressed by its compact size, its low weight, and its incredibly quiet performance. It's also been thoroughly consistent. We're yet to encounter any problem with any of the motors that we've tested, which is more than can be said for other e-bike systems on the market. Of course, it's not the most powerful option out there, and we'd suggest that heavier folks will likely be better off looking at a full-powered e-bike with a bigger battery. Still, we think this motor's subtle performance makes it a great match for modern lightweight e-bikes, especially for lighter and sportier riders. Folks who are new to mountain biking will also find the HPR50 motor to be easier to manage on tight and twisty single track. The smooth and intuitive power delivery enhances your leg's output without dominating the riding experience, allowing the motor to simply fade into the background. That makes the overall experience feel closer to a regular mountain bike, and for many riders, that will be exactly what they're looking for. Now, if you've got any questions for us about the TQ HPR50 motor, make sure you drop those into the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Tooroo!